Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. Today we're adding these bright orange swordtail fish to the tank. And by the end of this video you'll understand why that sword on their tail is both their greatest advantage and their biggest weakness. Swordtails get their name from the obvious sword extension on the lower part of the male's tail fin. They're absolutely stunning and closely related to platy fish. But before we dive into their biology, their behavior and feeding, I want to show you exactly how I acclimated them to their new tank. The first step, at least in my process, is simple. Check if they survive the transport. My local fish store still uses reusable transport boxes. It creates less waste, which I really like, but the downside is you cannot float the bags for temperature acclimation. Normally, bags let you match both temperature and water parameters gradually. Here, you have to make sure the room itself is warm enough so the fish don't cool down. It's a small drawback. Next, I immediately add plants. In this case, a branch of Hygrophila corymbosa stricta. You can see that the fish instantly swim straight under it. They instinctively search for cover in unfamiliar environments. It reduces stress and it makes them feel safe. I also add some Amazon frogbit and some duckweed, Wolffia globosa. Watch closely. As the floating plants drift, the fish follow them. Moving shade equals security for these fish. Then I start slowly adding tank water into the transport container using a small kitchen container. I repeat this process every 20 minutes for about an hour. Therefore, after 60 minutes, roughly 70% of the water in the container is tank water.
One swordtail jumped from this one to this one. There he is.
Once that's done, I remove the floating plants and most of the transport water. You never want that water in your fish tank. It may contain pathogens, parasites, excess nitrate and a lot of fish waste. Leave maybe half an inch, so just enough to keep them submerged, and then gently release them into the tank. My wife, Selina, was so kind to film me today, so we have a really nice camera work. You'll notice that there are only 3 swordtails here. One jumped into another container earlier. I added that one afterwards. At first, they look slightly confused. Slow, cautious, but that changes quickly. Swordtails are closely related to platies. Their scientific name is Xiphophorus hellerii. Platies are Xiphophorus maculatus. Similar names, and they can even interbreed. I'll explain why that matters later. For now, watch them explore. They don't shy away from other fish, at all. In fact, they immediately look like the new bosses of this tank. They are the largest fish here, anyways. You can see them next to my female Apistogramma agassizii fish. Despite being a dwarf cichlid, she's about the same size as the young swordtail male. Telling males from females in swordtails is easy. Males have the sword, females don't. Sometimes people think they bought a female and months later a sword develops. And that's not a gender change or a sex change. Swordtails are just sometimes late bloomers. I also added one more fish today. I won't reveal the species yet, maybe you can guess and put your guess in the comment. It looks gray here, but it's actually red. It's beautifully colored and I'll show it properly once I get better footage of it. Because it's very small, I added 2 of them and both of them hide constantly. Back to the swordtails. We have 2 males. One is spotted and one is brightly orange colored. Interestingly, they both stick to the left side of the tank. You'll also see my homebred platies, all offspring from this setup. If you want to see how I built this South America tank, the video is linked above in the top right corner and also in the video description below. Now that the swordtails have settled in, it's time for their first feeding. I'm using pond flakes, technically for goldfish, but they have the same ingredients as the flakes that are used for tropical fish, but they are much cheaper. And the swordtails are not shy at all. At first glance, they look similar to platies, but swordtails are much more streamlined, more aquadynamic. Platies are rounder, almost couch potato shaped. Swordtails are very sleek athletes. In nature, they actually inhabit fast moving streams. Their elongated bodies are built for speed. Look at that female with the spotted tail. She moves like a miniature barracuda or a shark. And notice something else, males are slightly slower, and that's because of the sword. And that brings us to the real question, how did the sword originally evolve? Research suggests that females preferred longer swords. To them, a longer sword signals a larger, stronger male, even if that's not actually true. This is sexual selection in action. Over generations, females chose longer sworded males. So, the trait amplified and got more prominent in the following generation. But there's a cost. A longer sword makes males more attractive and more vulnerable at the same time. Slower swimmers are easier targets for predators. And research by Rosenthal from 2001 demonstrated this evolutionary trade-off. The beauty, however, or the longer tails rather, increases mating success, but it can reduce survival rates. That's the tension that the sword represents. Meanwhile, the females remain incredibly agile, especially compared to platies. After keeping them for just a day or two, I've already noticed they are more assertive than platies, and also more aggressive. You need space for swordtails. This is a 52-gallon, heavily planted tank, plenty of hiding spots. During regular feeding, there's little aggression, but once I drop in a catfish pellet, chaos starts. The red platy male moves in. Platy females follow. Even the teenagers and platy fry join. My Corydoras Adolphoi tries to grab a bite too. And I mean, originally this fish pellet was intended for the Corydoras to eat them, but usually they are a little late to the party. Nobody challenges the female Apistogramma. She still commands respect in the tank. I do wonder what would happen if the male was still alive. Sadly, the male Apistogramma passed away a few weeks ago. Beautiful fish, strong personality, but unfortunately it passed away. I can't really tell why, and if you guys think that we should get another Apistogramma male into this tank, or maybe a male and another female, add it into the comment section below. I want to know your opinion. Just hours after introduction, the swordtail females are already pushing platies aside. They are establishing rank pretty fast. Swordtails form strict pecking orders. Research by Frank from 1983 showed dominant males usually rule the group. In my tank, the largest individuals right now are still females, so dominance dynamics are still shifting. The males hang back for now. They are smaller, cautious, but that won't last. Fast forward to the next morning. The tank looks much cleaner because I cleaned it in the morning. And remember the jumper from yesterday? This is that particular fish. It stays near the surface, so I'm keeping an eye on it. I feed pond flakes again. First days are always dry food for my fish only. I don't want to give them any sudden dietary changes. Since there was a huge change for the fish already, which means that they moved from the fish store to my aquarium and probably were moved to the fish store only a few weeks earlier. This is already a huge change for them. I'm sure that in the fish store they get dry food usually, and that's why I don't want to change their diet on the first few days, so not mess up their digestive system. And now you can clearly see increased activity among the males. This is what I meant earlier. Eventually, one male should rise to the top of the hierarchy. The others will probably submit. And filming them is actually quite difficult. They are fast. Platies are much easier. They are slower, they are chunkier, and therefore they are way easier to film. If you want to see them, check out the documentary on the top right. And one of my goals with this setup is actually breeding. Xiphophorus maculatus and Xiphophorus hellerii can interbreed in aquariums. In the wild, they are geographically separated, so this doesn't happen naturally. But biologically, there is no barrier. And here's the interesting part. The bright red color you see in many swordtails today didn't originally belong to them. It came from platies. Through crossbreeding decades ago, the red trait was introduced into swordtails at the beginning of their popularity in the aquarium trade. Selective breeding refined it further. So strictly speaking, many pet store swordtails are already hybrids, and I'm pretty sure that the ones that we are looking at right now are hybrids as well. And that brings us back to the sword. The sword made them attractive, selective breeding made them brighter, and human choice amplified both. What started as a female preference in the wild became one of the most iconic traits in the aquarium hobby. And that's why this tiny extension of the tail is both their greatest evolutionary success and their greatest risk. And with that, I think it's a nice time to thank all the members in the Guppy Gang. So we have now a new record. We have now 5 members in the Guppy Gang. They are Ryder Cedric, Belgium Bugs, Dottie, JVP and Julius. So big thank you to every one of you. This means really a lot. It's probably not that big of a contribution for you guys, and there's even a subscription tier for $1 a month, but it really means a lot to me. In total, you guys give me $10 US a month. That really helps keeping the lights on, keeping me invest in my setups and getting new fish, because also these new fish have now cost me 60 euros in total. I purchased them yesterday, and this really helps me with creating new videos, also paying for the subscriptions that I have to use, like the video editing tool, the tool I use for thumbnails, all the camera equipment and so on. This really means a lot, and if you who are watching the video at the moment want to support me and my work, please join as a channel member as well. There's also some channel member only content on my channel member side on YouTube, and there's some stuff that I share behind the scenes with channel members only. If you don't have enough from this tank, please feel free to watch the video on the right hand side where I show in depth how I set up this whole tank. It's a huge aquascaping tutorial video and also has very nice shots of the species that I added, and also where I got the hardscape from in the wild, or the video on the left. Thanks for watching.